I mean, for me, the biggest piece is that people are going from this kind of brick and mortar to more of the online base, and they're trying to figure out, well, how do I connect with more people? How do I actually have a bigger impact? How do I hit people? Right?
Yeah. So I feel my sweet spot is being able to speak effectively offline as well, online as well.
Yeah.
Doing videos, doing webinars, doing streaming, become comfortable. I think that's the big interest from people now on how to become a great virtual presenter, because I feel like this COVID ordeal just sped up the whole. We had this trend going, webinars, videos, streaming, but usually it's the 5% entrepreneurs who are at it, and the 95%. But then when people could not leave a market anymore, they realized, hey, how do I reach people? So people who never done a Zoom meeting, never done a live meeting, never done a YouTube meeting, they'd be like, maybe it's the time for me to learn these tools. And there's a lot of tools to learn. There's not only one way. Some people master Instagram, some people do streaming, some people do webinars, and some people do all of them. I try to do all of them, improving all of them. I always be improving all of them. So I feel like there is, if you have a company selling a product or service, you have to, or your company, someone in your company got to become good at selling online.
So listen, wait, I want to capture this online for people. So before you get into expand on what you're talking about, You're right. I want you to wait. I want to keep this conversation going. Hold on, give me 2 seconds here. Yeah, and you're okay if we go live with this?
Let's go right now.
Let's do it. Okay. Give me 2 seconds here to get this set up.
Do you like go to? I just got what is it? Ecamm for Mac. I use Mac.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, I use Zoom too. All these tools, man, they have one.
I know, man.
There's 1,000, man.
Well, and then there's
you're gonna get the one that you're gonna use. That's what I realized. Get one that you're gonna use, and that's it.
Well, and then you introduced us to Dub, and now we're using Dub. And
Dub is the Dub. We are on fire with Dub, bro. On fire.
I like it, but man, I need more hands on deck to manage all the different tools that we're using now, man.
Yeah. The Dub has been life-changing for me, brother, for real. Probably of all these tools that I use, that's number one. It's because I integrate with my email software, so I send to my email blast. If I want to do one-on-one, I send one-on-one. I get on my phone, send one-on-one. I don't write emails anymore. I literally, if I go,
is that right?
I don't. Emails is like I record a quick message to you. That's how I write, and then literally that's how I write. Because which one do you do faster, write or talk?
Yeah, you talk, of course.
Which one do you do? Which one has more influence, writing or talking? So this is it's a no-brainer. Literally. I really don't write anymore.
It looks like the Zoom land online is in overwhelm mode, so we may have to sort of avoid the Facebook Live thing. That's okay. I've got it recorded.
That's okay.
All right. I'm gonna give it 20 more seconds here, Roberto, and then we'll fire away.
Well, I never thought you're gonna have a. That's funny. I'm sure everybody's online now.
Everybody. It's Monday morning at noon Eastern time, 9 Pacific.
How's Canada, bro?
Well, it depends on where we're at. Out on Vancouver Island, where I live, we're COVID free right now, and so it's starting to open back up. It's starting to become more normal. We have to maintain space, and there's lots of people still wearing masks and things. My profession, I'm still legally obligated to wear a mask when I'm with a patient. Our sanitary habits have improved, et cetera, et cetera. Some of the stuff is fine.
Baby, let's go.
Okay, so listen, for all you that are listening to this today, I want to say First and foremost, thank you to one of my greatest mentors in Roberto, Monaco. And I am going to allow him in a minute to tell his story and to kind of bring you up to speed. I want, and I've encouraged Roberto to communicate as though you've never heard of him before. Not that there's very many people anymore that haven't heard of the great Roberto Monaco. But my story was, when I met Roberto, we were moving our business. We were making decisions about where we were going to go and how we were going to blow this thing up. And his strategic precision skills and tools that we learned were able in 1 year to grow multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars in 1 year. In fact, I've done so many different marketing things that for double the amount of money on Facebook, we were able to do about half the amount we were through the talks and webinars and corporate talks and the amount that we've been able to influence through the skills and the tools that we've learned from Roberto. It trumps absolutely anything. And now that we're moving, and you and I were talking about this just before we came on, Roberto, is now that we're moving COVID, post-COVID, into more of the online world, it becomes even more pertinent that we start to learn the skills and the tools that you are the expert in. So here's where we want to start. First and fourmost, welcome and thank you for being on today. I really appreciate it.
Dr. Ryan, thanks so much, brother. I want to give a hug right now, brother, little virtual hug here.
Dude, you've helped us through so much. So what I want to encourage you to do is, and listen, you're the storyteller, man. So I want you to dive deep. I want you to assume that the people that are listening to this have never even heard of you. Perfect. Give us who the heck are you, dude? Give her.
So, as you can see, my accent is from Canada, eh?
You are not a Canadian.
No,
you're welcome.
Hi, everybody. By the way, I have my best friends are Canadian, man. I love Canada, been in Canada twice. Super, my heart will love Canadians. You guys have an amazing heart. And I'm from Brazil originally. I live in here in South Carolina. And I started my story when I used to work in a bank in Brazil, Banco do Brasil. And for 10 years, I was unhappy, making money 8 to 5, Dr. Ryan. And I was the kind of guy who go like this every day. My watch, it's 5 o'clock yet.
Yeah, 4:45, 4:46, 4:40.
I was literally like 50 times a day for 10 years. For real. Like this, 5 o'clock, right? 5 o'clock. And then I decided to quit. I went to England for 3 months to start learning English. And then eventually I came here to America to keep studying English. And I remember sitting down in a coffee shop in San Diego, California with a book and a dictionary. And I remember, because of translating, right? If you learn a second language, that's how we learn fast. You get a book, get a dictionary, start translating word by word. It's painful. And I was doing that, and I read this question that changed my life. And the question said, if you could do anything in your life and you knew you could not fail, what would I be doing today, right here, right now? And I actually read twice. I'm like, huh?
I'm writing that down again, man.
Yeah. Because like we usually go, well, we got a job, we pay the bills, right? I got a BA in finance and BA in marketing, just got a job to make more money. And that question was really like hit me hard, because it wasn't about the question, was about a way of thinking. Really?
I love that.
Anything in my life? And I'm like, and you know, here's the crazy part. I didn't have an answer. That is the sad part. I didn't have an answer. I really am like, I don't know. And that was like a really kind of like a moment to woke me up. I'm like, dude, I don't know. So I started going to seminars. One seminar, another seminar. I was living in San Diego. Really try to learn who I was. Like, I know Roberto, but like deep, because I believe I had this feeling of like, man, there's something more. There's something out there for me. And I remember going to a seminar. The company is called PSI. Was a 4-day event, motivational, transformational work. And the last day, there's a group share, and they pass the mic, and I never done public speaking. I got the mic, and I start ripping. And people are like, man, should it be a speaker? And I'm like, me? Like, me?
Who, me?
And then it's this seed in my head. Then I did that, and then they sold me, right? Now I'm so grateful they did. But I want to give a context here. At that time, I was driving a Toyota Tercel 1986 with 200,000 miles on it that I pay $1,500, right? That's how much my car worth, $1,500 US. So I went to this 4-day event, and they promote like an event, 7-day event for $3,000. Now pause. Would you pay to go to a training program that costs twice your car?
Twice as much as your car?
Just think about that for a second. Just think about it. I did.
And what would have been the cost had you not done that?
I will not be here talking to you before. Right now, I will not. And that's why I went to the class, come back, and the event was really powerful. And I came back, and at that time, I was like, man, I want to become a speaker. I don't know how I'm going to do it. And I really remember, I was like, man, I want to work for Tony Robbins. Why Tony Robbins that time? Because I had to listen to some CDs at that time, and the messages really helped me. So remember one day, a Sunday, my buddy calls me up and said, hey, I'm going to go to your house. So he came to my complex, and my complex had a pool. So I remember he came to my apartment, and I pulled the book, Awaken the Giant Within. I show him. And my buddy's Brazilian, doesn't know anything about motivation speaking, Tony Robbins, coaching. And he goes, oh, whatever. And I told him, like, one day I want to be doing things like this. My buddy goes, okay, whatever. So we go to the pool, speaking Portuguese, and there's two ladies laying down. And then we sit in the middle of them, talking Portuguese. And they're not paying attention to us at all. Now, the lady on the right noticed that I was speaking Portuguese. And she said, what kind of language is that? Then I switch back to English, like, wow, from Brazil, it's Portuguese, da, da, da. And she asked him, what are you doing here? At the time I was in sales, like, well, I'm selling computers here. I'm selling all these things, but my goal is to really become a speaker. And then I lit up, right? I was like, man, I would love to help people, serve people. And I start talking for 5 minutes. And then after, I jump on the water. And the lady who was quiet the whole time. When I came back, I was swimming back, and she stood up, and she was like this, looking at me like super intense. And I'm like, hello? And she goes, I'm sorry, I heard your conversation. And I'm like, no, that's okay. And she goes, no, you don't understand. I work for Tony Robbins, and you are going to work for Tony Robbins. So my buddy, who I just showed the book like half an hour before, he goes, man, that's a setup. The lady goes, no, that's a setup. And I'm like, dude, are you joking? She goes, no, my name is Lena Power. Wait. She goes to her apartment, come back with the business cards, and say, call me back on Monday. I'm like, dude, is this happening? So Monday I call, schedule interview, and they have a team, they call field sales rep, FSR. And basically the job was to go travel year around doing talks for Tony Robbins. So basically that's what you do. You don't, every 4 months, you move from one town to another, 4 months in Orlando, 4 months in Vegas, 4 months in New York. And you just do talks, 400 talks a year. And they had one spot. So I go to an interview with 0 speak experience to apply to be a speaker. Zero.
Yeah,
maybe I had done.
Had some passion.
Maybe I had done a couple presentations in a college and stuff. You know, you all do to graduate, but I wasn't like formal. I had speaking training or doing talks for groups.
Not the expertise you do now.
No, this is crazy. And I went in, and the guy, and the first one of the things he said was, the manager, never forget, he said, man, I love your energy, love your passion, but you have this thick accent. I don't know if you're going to be able to sell people Tony Robbins events, you know? And I look at him and said, Jim, I'm not going to be your best speaker, not at all, because English is my third language. I'll be your number one guy. And then, brother, and that's what started. So I went to this journey. I worked for Tony Robbins companies for 6 years. And then in 2008, I left, opened up Influencology. Fast forward now, I'm doing this since 2002 on my own, since 2008, 2009. Done 4,500 talks, over 12,000 hours, one-on-one public speaking, presentation coaching. So now my passion is to help entrepreneurs, leaders, chiropractors, doctors, politicians to just communicate their message powerfully. That's what I live for. I love to see someone who is on a mission to help their community, to go to do a webinar or a video or a talk or TV, whatever, and just crush it. I love it. That's like, is my way in a selfish way. I feel like I'm there with them. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm there on the shoulder, even though I'm not there. So anyway, so that's what we do.
Well, and you've done that extremely well, because I'm a living testimonial for what it is that you do. All right, so listen, I want you to, the background. You and I work basically with assisting similar groups of people. Yep. My job is to relight that fire. So you were saying in your story, I came from Brazil. I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew that I was Roberto, but I didn't know where this was. Finally, you stood up on stage and you figured out that's my passion is assisting entrepreneurs with figuring out, well, what is that next step and how to light that fire. Now, if you're one of those people that's listening and you're like, well, I have a pretty good idea of the direction that I want to go. But I want to be able to take this little mission that I've got, and I want to make it grow like this. What are your tips as far as getting that message out to them? Because the landscape is changing. Like you and I were saying before we came on, there was 5% of people that were communicating their message online and webinars and social media. Now it's starting to become like a necessity. Yeah. What are your suggestions, Berto?
So the idea, so I want to create a context here. So I've been doing public speaking for a long time. And in 2009, I published, actually, I was just looking a couple of days ago, I was writing an article, was March 19th, 2009, was my first YouTube video. So back in the day that was my first YouTube video I did. I know the date because I was there still on a platform. And we didn't have Facebook Live, we didn't have those things before. Instagram didn't have it. So for me, what caused me to shift was like this. So one of my clients hired me, came to my class. He was a coach for the mortgage industry, big name. And he came around that time, 2009, to my public speaking presentation class. And then he did a class, loved it. And then a week later, I go to Facebook, or maybe a couple months later, Facebook. And I'm browsing Facebook. All of a sudden, I saw a video of him doing like a little presentation on a whiteboard, using my stuff, right? And I'm like, man, that's so awesome. But he has a video, I don't. And he lives in Florida, right? And I was 11 o'clock in San Diego. The guy's sleeping, but I'm watching his message. And I'm like, it's something simple as like, all those talks I done, never recorded. Thousands of them, never recorded.
Oh my God. And how many times, how much energy that could have saved you back in the day. And I don't mean to cut you off, but I still feel there's nothing that replaces being in the room with Roberto Monaco, in the room with Tony Robbins. But that does not mean that the impact and the power of that message can't continue. So Bingo. I love it. Yeah, as far as nothing, it's funny because when you said that, because even if you study any internet marketers, I'm not going to mention names, the big ones, you start following them, they're going to brag about how much money they made on their live event. I mean, literally, I did a ski note, so
oh, so even though internet marketing is really powerful, but they make the big bucks. Why? Because, man, it's there, right? You're nothing substitute the power. But the cool thing about what we're doing now and video and streaming and pre-recorded webinars is just an extension of your story. So for me, is consistency in recording and is something that everybody has to try to develop. I feel nowadays it's really important if everybody has a smartphone. It's so easy to go to any platform, right? Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, record a video. There's no editing, there's nothing. Just go and talk. So I feel like anybody is able to do that, but I feel being able to have a strategy, being able to have consistent effort with your video marketing efforts is a different ball game.
Are you able to share on that just for a second, Roberto? When you say consistency, like if I'm just starting, like you and I are more kind of deeply into the game. Mm-hmm. We have our strategies behind whether it's podcasting and YouTube. Yeah. But like if I'm starting, where do I start, Roberto? As far as like, what would you say? What's my starting point? What do I do?
My starting point is if you never got engaged with so I want to take one step back here real quick. Okay. Just talk about like virtual presentations. You have, let's call it 3 areas, 3 big chunks. Mm-hmm. One, I'll put a category of marketing videos. And these marketing videos are the videos that you record to market your service, your products. Right? It's that simple. Okay. And there's different categories you can do with marketing videos. But the idea is you're recording a video in the hopes that someone who does not buy from you yet or is not your client to buy from you, become your client or join your list. So that's one category of marketing videos. YouTube videos, Instagram videos, LinkedIn videos, live YouTube, live Facebook, anything that you recorded and you blast it out. Right? Webinars. The second category is what I call internal videos. So I have a lot of, if you're a doctor, for example, you may have an education series that you do for your patients. Or if you are a business owner, you may have a customer service videos that you do, or maybe a training video for employees, or maybe if you're an expert and you sell paid content, right? So this is kind of like more internal. So one is market for, and your goal markets to get the message in front of as many people as possible, as long as those people are your prospect, your avatar, your qualified, your ideal client. Then you have the second category called the internal videos. Like in my example, for example, internal videos would be, I have 2 membership sites with classes. And then the third type of video I call personal videos. We talk about that before, dub one-on-one videos. That's videos that I record for one person with a very strategic purpose. So that's, I want to start this conversation, say, hey, you don't have to do all 3 right away. Okay, you don't. But I just want to make sure you could start just the personal video or just the internal videos, or you did start marketing videos. So that's, just understand that. The second thing, when it comes to publishing content, I always tell this, look, start where you are. Don't get too crazy with equipment, because I literally have seen people drop $1,000 camera, $2,000 camera, and they don't do anything.
I podcast off my iPhone. That's
Bingo.
It. That's it. I have one app. I don't have a producer and editor. It can be that simple. So yeah.
Bingo. So to be like, start where you are. Now I give a tip though. If you're, for me, when it comes to video marketing, I have the fancy stuff. I have everything pretty much in between. And I learned that for me and for a business entrepreneur, speed is everything. If it gets too complicated, you're not going to do it. Yeah. Because I mean, for me,
For
unless you have a lot
too.
of budgets to have like, you have a team, but even that, I don't, like you said before, you can do it in your phone. So if you're recording, for example, you're starting, I would recommend for sure a little microphone. If you're doing from your desktop, a little mic and a little external camera. Just for basic stuff, you're recording video. I use the Yeti X is the new one, which is this. It's an amazing mic. You can buy it on Amazon for $100. And I use like, for example, I'm using a camera now. My Mac has a built-in camera. I use the Logitech HD 1080p, which is amazing. And if I were to disconnect here, you see the difference. So that's it. And then in your phone, you can get a little external mic too. So you want to have at least the basic sound, the basic light, and then content. So here's the idea of marketing content. Okay, in 2009, I realized the biggest thing that's gonna happen was that people are gonna get stuck on the content. That was 2009, because I realized that recording video is just getting easier and easier and easier. Everybody knows how to do it. But then once you overcome the camera shyness and you know how to record and publish a video, it's going to come down to content. And I actually record 52 different ways. It took me a year to develop a program, a course I call Video Marketing Content, where I record 52 different ways to record video. And I actually record one video per, so I record 104 videos. But anyway, so when I give some ideas, some shortcut, one of the things that I recommend any entrepreneur is to any question your clients, prospective ask you, anything that their email or feedback form or contact forms, and you organize, and those become content ideas for your videos. I'll do that all day long. I have a collection, probably 1,000 questions that are on my, like a little Excel spreadsheet, or stuff people ask me. So I never run out of content. Now, some of these questions become products, right? But let's say you don't want to have a product, you just want to use videos or do presentations to grow your practice or your business or your practice, then you can start there. I mean, literally, you can start with, and I know for some people, live videos are more intimidating, which I totally get it. I totally get it. So maybe in the beginning, you don't need to do a live. If confidence, by the way, for those people who are there struggling with the camera shyness or confidence, you're not alone. I will tell you this, a lot of people struggle with that, a lot of people. So one thing that you can do, and I actually still do that, okay? A little trick. On Facebook, for example, I open up a private group. It's called Influencology Testing, right? It's just for me. I'm the only, you know what I do? When I record a live video, I go there and I actually record a live video on my testing group to make sure my light and my microphone is good. And my background, and then, I mean, it takes like 3 seconds, and then, oh, it's good. I stop, then I go live.
I was just going to say, because there's so many people that I work with, and I know you face this, Berto, but it's the person that starts 3 seconds later, like, oh, and they stop. And then they start and they go, oh, just sec, my hair is a little out of place. And it's the perfectionist that comes out in all of us. But the one piece of advice that I really learned from you is just do it.
Yeah, that's it.
Get some momentum going. But I don't know, that sometimes that's just easier for us. I don't know.
No, for real. So in the beginning, and I understand why. Because when I started doing video in 2009, again, I started Tony Robbins 2002, so I had all the 7 years of experience. And I remember, but didn't have video marketing then. It was just traditional public speaking. And when you shift from that, a live group, to one, in the beginning, you're like, man, how do I bring energy? Do I look at the camera? Do I talk to people? Do I ask questions? Do I animate to have all this? In the beginning, it is awkward. It is awkward. But then I realized, I'll tell you this quick story. My second video that I ever recorded, I mean, literally I go outside my house with my phone, windy day, shaking my phone. I mean, I'm talking about as bad as could be you possibly record a video was me. And I'm recording, no mic, the wind, shaking, and I recorded, upload on Facebook. And then 2 days later, I saw a little message, on Facebook, little red thing, and I click it, and it was my buddy, Thiago Antunes, who actually is a Brazilian guy, who actually was living in Canada. What is the biggest telecommunication company there? It's called...
it's either Bell or Telus.
No, it was before the Roger.
Rogers, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. And he goes, man, and this is like, has been, I don't know, 2009, 2010. He goes, man, I'm one of the managers at Rogers here. I need your help. I didn't know you do coaching. Let's do some work together. And I'm like, dude, I got a coaching client for my second terrible video. And then I'm like, oh, then I go hooked. Then I'm like, no, by the way, it doesn't happen every single time. I want to be clear. But happened to me in my second video. I'm like, dude, I can't believe it. And I feel, and now has been, man, a blessing with probably I'm over 3,000 videos between private and public stuff, easy over 3,000. And I'll tell you, when I go to periods of my life where I go without a week or two without recording video. So, but then I'm like, man, come on. And usually it's because I'm like any other entrepreneur here, running around, closing deals and customer service and family. But then I go back right into it. So
let me share some of my experience, because when I worked with Garrett, and I still work with Dr. Ed Osborne. So what happens is like the overall consistency is as often as you can. Now, some of the bigger firms that have budgets and teams, etc., they've got stuff being pumped out 5 to 10 to 15 times a day. Russell Brunson's like 5 times on basically every social platform everywhere. And that becomes almost insurmountable for the entrepreneur that has a business and a family and everything else. But what I've learned, and particularly as I've gotten clear, as I get clearer and clearer with my message, is people look for predictability. They look like my podcast right now comes out generally 2 to 3 times per week. Sometimes it's a monologue and sometimes it's an interview. But what I've learned is that when I start and stop and start and stop, what I notice is that the actual momentum of it starts and stops. And now that I'm not doing it daily. I was doing it daily a la Garrett J. White, but now I'm doing it 2 to 3 times a week. Now I'm starting to notice that things are starting to turn, just because I've chosen a level of predictability and consistency that I can sustain. I do posting online, but it's not necessarily a video every day. It can be something. And I think that's what I've learned from watching you guys, is just some level of consistency. And that's, like you said, there's a bit of a wave until you kind of figure out what your jam is like. I don't think that if you're listening to this, I don't think you have to necessarily do it like the superstars out of the
Of course,
gates,
no, of
right?
course not. And I 100% agree with you. And one cool thing too that I felt, once you generate all these ideas, some of them might be, for example, and let's talk about some here. FAQ videos, right? Very simple, frequent asked questions videos. Any questions that people ask, you go answer them. SAQ videos, should ask questions that your clients and patients should ask you, but they don't. How-to videos. Big category on YouTube, how to do blank. Do's and don'ts video. What are some do's and don'ts of videos? Mistakes videos. Right? What kind of mistakes did you see your clients do or patients do? Myth video. What are maybe 1 or 2 myths that your prospective clients may have? Right? So you still start when you have just it doesn't have to be fancy. The major thing is consistency. So a couple ways you can do it. One, if you can until develop the muscle. if you can block a time, maybe a Friday morning or a Thursday afternoon, and you go record 2 or 3 videos, 2 or 3 minutes each, you're good to go. If you want to do interview type what you're doing here, you just schedule the interview and do it. And then eventually, as you build up the muscle, then you're going to find your own rhythm, your own rhythm. Because I do a lot, so I do a ton of, every month I publish a course. So I have, which is super intense. So I'm like 34 months in, and they usually an hour each course. So that takes me probably a week of research. And then when I actually going to record is like probably, 4 hours.
Yeah,
so
it's an hour of material that takes hours and hours.
Yeah, that's the material. To come on the material. So that's why I started with the idea about capturing ideas. Because if you just go like, okay, every Thursday morning I'm going to record, and then you show up in front of a camera like, man, what am I going to say? Then you're going to get stuck. Now, if you walk around and you have a thought, put in that little file. If you have a question, put in a little file. So then I always have these ideas to record videos, right? So which is great.
Awesome. I keep them in my notes, and we've got a process within the Men of Iron and the Freedom Formula that we use on a daily basis that goes through a series of questions that gets us to an epiphany or a realization. And every time we do a self-reflection, it's like, boom, into my notes, I'm going to talk about that. How can you apply that into your life?
I love it.
Let
me just have something to you on that. Okay. So now we talk about overall strategy of like capturing ideas.
Yeah.
Then you start where you are. And when it comes to the content per se, I know we talk about, I give some these ideas, if you can ask questions, should ask questions. One of the things that make your recording, your messaging way more powerful and easier on you as the speaker or presenter is to be able to add a story into your messaging.
This is where I was going to go, and I wanted you to hit on. I wanted you to come to that, because ultimately, when you listen to the best speakers, and I know you've worked with most of them, it becomes contagious, because you will naturally listen to the person's story as opposed to somebody dictating a do this message to you. But you'll hear the do this through a storytelling. So expand on that, Berto.
I love that. And what happened is this is a great point. When let's say, regardless of your business right now, I work with 40 plus different industries. So when you say, I'm gonna start doing some webinars or live videos or whatever, then the first thing you're gonna, what I'm gonna say, right? And then you go into this mode of like, I'm gonna how to or tips or do this exactly. I love that. And it comes a point is tiring for you, it's tiring for your audience, and the message it's hard for them to relate.
I can't buy something that I can't relate to.
Yes. So just like, and I know you're a doctor of chiropractic, which I love, and I'm so grateful for you, brother. Chiropractic, they have, for those who are not chiropractors in the group here, they talk a principle about above, down, inside out. Eye above and the brain down. Inside comes health and healing from inside out. And when it comes to content, is inside out. It's not outside in. Outside in is me to get 10 books and start reading, right? And just and quote unquote copy and talk about that. That is outside in. Inside out means like I go through my series of reflections, and then if I start asking questions, today I learned about, let's say you're going through your reflections and you learn about the power of positive thinking, right? Let's say, or the power of changing your mind from negative thinking to positive thinking. Let's say that's the lesson you learn.
Yeah. And
then you go, here's where you go. You go, what is an example of that? And the question's like, what is an example of that? And then And then the question caused me to go inside and be like, oh, I remember the time when I didn't want to go to the grocery store because it was raining. I want to watch hockey, and I had all this resistance towards my family, but then I changed my mindset. Here's what happens, right? So one of the things that our viewers here are encouraged to do that's going to make your presentations more effective, it's going to save you time, is for every virtual communication, live streaming, webinars, and videos, you ask two questions. One, what's the point I'm trying to make? Every video has a major point. Sometimes if it's a longer format virtual presentation like a webinar, it may have 3 or 4 points, right? But every presentation at least has one point. What is the point I'm trying to make? I always ask that. Because if you're not clear, guess what? It's not, who else not clear? They're clear. And sometimes I've seen people who have 20 points in a short video. That means what? None of them is effective. When you have too many points, none of them is effective. So what's the point I'm trying to make? And the question number 2, what is an example of that? So let's say, for example, my point is, and in video marketing, you're going to have some tough days. What is an example of that? Mine goes, and I know you have yours, right? You're already laughing because you're already, right? Is that correct?
How many times do you sit there, you're driving somewhere and you're like, you're committed to making a video today, and the last thing you can come up with is some sort of a story about it. You have 0 examples, 0 content, and like sometimes I've thought about just doing a podcast on, I don't know what I'm doing today. I don't know. Like it just, sometimes that's where it ends up.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
So what's the point? What's an example?
What is an example of that? So let's say I'm doing I tell a quick story. So on my seminar, one of them, I talk about, look, video marketing sometimes is challenging. And then I ask myself, what is an example of that? And the reason I ask these questions for me, so I go inside, it's not for the audience, right? It's like, what is an example of having a bad day doing video marketing? Then I go, I remember.
Boom.
Because your mind is full of it's a database of stories, right? And I remember quickly on going back to 2009, when I started doing video marketing, I bought those, the first camera that became popular. I can't remember the name.
I couldn't tell you.
I still have in my storage somewhere. But basically, I didn't know how to edit video. So my strategy was to get my camera on my tripod, and I had just one take record a video because I could not edit, right? And so I put my tripod and I say hit play, record, and start recording, and then go in, stop and upload the video. And I remember I put my camera there, okay, record, and I had this 5-minute message, 5 minutes. And I messed up like 30, 40 times. I'll say something stupid. And every single time I walk towards the camera, stop, like, start again, and go like, let's go, blah, 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 blah. So I did that. I'm like probably 40 minutes into it. And then, like when you start getting like pissed and had a meeting to go. So finally, I'm recording one of them and I'm almost there. I almost got it. And I mess up again. And I'm like, and I walk through the camera, fudge. By the way, the word wasn't fudge. Wasn't fudge. And then I stop. I start again, and I'm thinking, dude, you're a professional speaker. You cannot be doing these mistakes, right? So then I go, let's go, and I do my thing, right? And then I go, blah 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 blah. I got it right? So I got it. Stop. Download the video, upload to YouTube, and I go to work, do my meeting. Couple days later, I went to my YouTube, and I had all these comments, and I'm watching my video. Now I'm watching me on YouTube. And I see Roberto talking, and messing up, and Roberto walks on YouTube, fudge! I uploaded the wrong video. I literally uploaded the wrong video, and I'm like, oh,
been there, done that. That's awesome.
That time,
but I guarantee you that was the video that got the most attention.
Yeah. Anyway, back in the day when you upload a video on YouTube, the default was public. Now they change it to help guys like me, not make the mistakes. So anyway.
Now it's unlisted. Okay, so I heard, what's the point? What's the example? Okay.
Yeah, what's the example of that? Yeah.
Okay, so kind of, and then what's the next step? What's the point? What's the example? And then, I guess
and then you have, let's say you want to do your sales trainer, and you're going to talk about the importance of prospecting. Huh? So like in your video, when you're storytelling, guys, you have to, I know most people don't like prospecting, but prospecting is the lifeblood of any business. Let me give an example. That's a transition. And that transition let me give an example. Now that's what you tell your viewer, a very simple way. Let me give an example, and you tell a quick story about prospecting. Could be your story, could be a client story that you help. Then you can get into different kinds of stories. In storytelling, I break down storytelling into 3 major categories. By the way, this is like a broad categories, but I think is a setups a good framework for us here. Yeah. Storytelling. One is your personal story, right? It's kind of like why you do what you do, or the story that gives you the context. And I gave you mine today when I worked for Tony Robbins and all those things to explain why I'm here talking about this. The second story is about a story about a client story, or if you're a doctor, might be a patient story. Right? So they're kind of like, if you're doing a webinar or video, you can tell a story about how you help someone that we have so many examples of the Man of Iron. So you can tell a story about someone that you helped. And then, so we have a personal story, you have your client or patient stories. And the third type of story is a story that can illustrate anything. I like to call the name Swiss Army Knife story. Why? Because the stories that help to illustrate act any point you wanna, right? Acting with urgency, one of your values, making a decision. So I can give an example. One of the stories that I use all the time is the zebra story. And I'm sure you know the zebra story, yeah. But people can use it. Feel free to use it. The mom zebra just had a baby, and the baby zebra was born just kind of like touching the grass and is smelling the grass and touching things, looking at the sky. And the mom zebra said, "Baby, you have to learn how to run right now." And the baby zebra like, "Why, mom? I was just born 2 minutes ago." And the mom zebra like, "Baby, you have to learn how to run right now." And the baby zebra said, "Why, mom? I want to see the blue skies. I want to see the birds. Why?" And the mom zebra said, "Because the lions are coming. And if you don't learn how to run right now, the lions are going to eat you alive." Now, I know you're thinking, here in Vancouver Island, you don't have lions.
We have mountain lions, though.
Right?
We have lions.
And then, but then, regardless of your profession, you can say just the lions of procrastination, the lions of divorce, the lions of
lions of payment, the lions of all right? Get it.
So anyway, so that's the cool. I didn't know. So you guys have a mountain lions there or what? Where you live?
We have the highest population of mountain lion on Vancouver Island of anywhere in the world, according to the statistics. Now, I mean, Vancouver Island is massive, so the likelihood of actually seeing the silly cats is pretty low, but puma is everywhere, man. Yeah, they're there. That's you see amazing. Tracks. Yeah, mountain lions and bears everywhere.
That's amazing.
So yeah, I mean, the storytelling and the impact, I remember like watching you in like when you do influencing from the front, you're sitting there for 3 days diving and pouring into us. And just when the brain starts, you notice this too, when you're following somebody or you're listening to a longer session or something, you'll see the audience just about ready to tick off, and then boom, into a story, and then it automatically grabs their attention. The zebra story, there was probably 88 stories that you the process of this. And God forbid if we could just hold on to like 3 of them. The most powerful one that I use on a daily basis almost is my personal story. Now, I've got a personal story for chiropractic. I've also got a personal story for Men of Iron, right?
Love it.
Right. So those stories lead people down. They can see where you started. They see the transition and the transformation, and they understand the why behind what it is that you're doing. So you basically get the, what is it that you do? They get the why is it that you do it and who is it for, all in one smooth kind of transition, as opposed to me sitting there going, this is about XYZ. This really works for XY. It's the most powerful way of being able to communicate is that personal story.
No, I am with you 100%. Plus, one, people can counter-argue your facts. They cannot counter-argue your experience. How can I counter-argue your chiropractic experience? How can I counter-argue your Men of Iron experience? How can I say that's not true?
You can't.
Number 2.
You can't until I make an interpretation about it.
Yeah. Number 2, when people are conditioned to read books, to watch TV, watch movies, soap opera, so when you go into storytelling format, unconsciously, it's almost like you send a message, hey, just relax right now. People just, guards are off, right? And one of the terms, I'm still studying storytelling this day. That's as you get deeper into the storytelling scene. There's a term called identification. And identification happens when you tell a story, could be to one person or to a group of people, and they can identify himself or themselves or herself with the character or the person or the major character of the story. And when you have this identification happens, then resistance goes down. That's why Trump, watching the Trump rally here, I'm not going to get in politics here, liking Trump or not liking Trump, right? But he instead of saying, this broadcast is fake news, he said that, but he took it to the next level. He told this probably, I don't know, I was watching 2 nights ago, 7-minute story about why they made was, and then by the time it was done, I'm like, oh man, that broadcast is, or that company was broadcasting, man, they're lying because the story is so legit. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, and he's using that. I'm like, oh, I know what you're doing, bro. I know what you're doing, I mean, and he's the president, and he literally go into the 7-minute story, acting out, liking or not liking the guy. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm saying the use of storytelling is super effective, and people, politicians, lawyers, CEO, executives, influencers, just notice. I remember I started this journey for 2 reasons. One, of storytelling journey. When I started working for Tony Robbins, I see he walk in a room and within half an hour, he has 10,000 people in his hands. I mean, literally. I'm like, how does he do that? I mean, literally. And then as the weekend goes on and on and on, people get even more excited and more engaged. And I start going to his events, and I literally start breaking down talks. And I noticed, instead of like listening to the information, I was actually figuring out, okay, what are you doing? And that was one of the major things. And then I left there. A couple of weeks later, I downloaded the Zig Ziglar, I think the audiobook was Goals, the abbreviated version, and it was an hour and 25 minutes. And Zig told over 20 stories. I'm like, man, that's it. And I went to this crazy storytelling mode. That's still, because storytelling, still something that I do. And it's not, I want to be super clear, storytelling is not a a public speaker thing. Storytelling is a communication thing. It's an influencer thing, right? It's like videos, emails, one-on-one, website, your bio. So just keep that. If you want to take one thing from me on this call here, this webinar, ask yourselves, how can I take my business storytelling next level? Right? Give a couple tips. Number one, capture stories. Number two, create a database of stories. I personally, and here's a guy who teaches, right? I teach this. I have storytelling databases. Why? Because I know my mind, I forget. So when I have a presentation or talk, I go, oh, I need this one, I pull. And number three, share them. Right? See, a story is not a story until it's told. And I know that so many businesses, you have thousands of stories inside, but nobody have heard them before.
Yeah. Last thing I want to hit on here, and I'm gonna show you something that I just did recently. I was helping one of our associates with she's starting to develop her own strategies for going out into our community and doing talks. And I want to show you something. When you do, and I'm going to speak to the public here for a second, when you do influencing from the front, so when you do, I'm going to give away a couple of your tips just for a second.
That's okay.
When you come to the course, what Roberto does is not only pulls these stories out and gets you to work on really kind of getting comfortable with communicating them and having an impact and being able to go into the what, why, lesson, apply type aspect of these things. But there's a strategic structure to how one goes from starting a talk to influencing people to make a logical conclusion so that it becomes influential without the of selling. I want to share something with you. Hopefully I don't even know if you can see this. Hold on a sec here. I just gotta, let's get rid of my background for a second. I'm gonna do no background.
Brother,
just for a second. Now look, you may not be able to see this. It might be too small, but I'll read it to you. There's an intro. There's pre-frames from participation to acknowledgement to questions to test close to big why with personal story to 3 chunks and 3 problems to 3 solutions to tips to a gift and a close. I mean, come on.
Oh, brother, you made me proud now. You made me proud.
Right?
You made me proud.
So we've learned so much about this art, and as much as people are getting started with this, there really is just a wealth of information that I feel just takes time and the practice to do these things. My piece of advice, because I've been involved with this for a long time, and I podcast and I YouTube and I Facebook, and I've become comfortable with these types of things, but it's get started, do something. My attitude, so the attitude shift that I took, particularly leaving influencing from the front, was when you communicate a message, particularly into public, what happens is what happens is that day that you don't is the day that somebody needed to hear something out of your mouth. But go ahead.
Buddy, I have a 1 o'clock, people waiting, a coaching call at 1. I'm so sorry, guys.
Okay, no worries. How do I get a hold of you? I'm listening to this. How do I get a hold of you?
Influenceology.com.
Influenceology.com. Roberto, thank you very much, my friend.
Yeah, buddy. All right, thanks. Bye-bye.